What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are on the part 3 now with the 1996 RM125 project. If you watched the last video, you'd seen that I got it running with just replacing the CDI with a good one. Also found that the reed valves were blown out on it from a backfire, probably because it was misfiring because of the bad CDI. So I ended up blowing a hole through the reed valve and back into the airbox. We got that taken care of, and we threw the stock carb back on with the stock jetting and started up with 3 kicks, to my surprise. So took it up and down the road a little bit, and come to find out that the clutch is kind of hanging up a little bit, and it also slips in some spots. So we're going to get this off in this video. And I did this part off of camera. I replaced the clutch cable already. And if you remember me mentioning before, this tab here was broken off. It was supposed to be like a loophole that this slides into. So I kind of pieced together something that is working pretty decent right now. This is just temporary until I can kind of figure out a way to permanently fix that. But I just took a adjuster from an old perch, a clutch perch adjuster, and it fits right around the edge of this cable where the metal's supposed to slip into that loophole. And there's enough built up on this part that it broke off on that this kind of sits right up against there, and it actually holds it in place pretty good. I'll demonstrate. And I also have this part here that's holding the cable in that position, so when you pull the clutch, it doesn't try to pull off, and you can see, you know, when I yank on it this way, it doesn't really move at all. So I'll show you. I'm going to pull the clutch in. You can see what I'm talking about. So you get a little movement up there, but I don't have any way to weld magnesium, and I don't want to buy a whole side cover just for this. So I think I'm going to ride it around like this and see how well that holds up when I'm actually riding it, and not just pulling the cable in the garage here. So we're going to put it through a test once I get it in the woods to see if that's going to hold up temporarily, or if I can kind of keep that in there. That'll work for now. But I'm going to get the clutch cover off in this video, and I got plates and springs to go back in there. We're going to place all that. See, you know, it's probably why it was slipping and grabbing, because they're just worn out. Regardless, it ran pretty decent, I gotta say, from the little bit of time I had it up and down the road. Once it cleaned out, it pulled really strong. I think the fuel mixture is right on. It's just a matter of getting the idle set with the, hopefully just the air screw, a little bit messing with that. So enough talking, we're gonna get started. We're gonna dig into that clutch here first. Okay, I got the bike leaning up against the wall that way to try to keep the oil in. It's fresh oil in there. I don't want to have to replace it, so hopefully when I open this up, it doesn't all come out. So let me get the brake out of the way here first. There we go. Okay, we got that seal on here I'm going to need to replace. Probably should have ordered one of those too. Just taking note of the position of this gear that's on here. It's facing the back of the bike with the gears, and that just kind of rides along the, let's see if I can lift this up without losing those. Right in here, when you pull the clutch, it just turns that lever, which pushes these gears in, and will disengage the clutch. Start removing these. Okay. At first glance, doesn't look like they're too bad. We just got a little bit of corrosion on here. Probably not that bad. They are kind of sticking together though. Get these ones out. I'm taking this all off. Try to keep these in order so I know how to put the other ones back in. Yeah, they don't look horrible. Like someone was definitely in here before. That lock washer was hit a few times, you can tell. So this has all been apart at some point. So even though I'm going to replace these clutch plates and springs, I figured I'd just get some measurements to see how far along they were worn out. Friction plate thickness, the limit looks to be 2.5 millimeters, according to the manual. Let's see where we're at here. Make sure this is zeroed out. Okay. 2.7 on that one. Let's measure this side too. 2.7. So it's still within spec, but you know it's getting close to the 2.5 limit. They're not horrible, but since we got it apart and we want to freshen this bike up, we're just going to go ahead and replace them. Yeah, they're all about 2.7 there. Looks like the claw width, which is this part right here, should be 13.1 millimeters. 13.7. 13.3 on that one. So again, not horrible, but kind of approaching its end of life specs there. Let's see, 13.5. Oops, I was on the wrong part there. 13.4. Okay, yeah. So the friction plates weren't completely dead, but they were getting close. So I'm going to measure the springs here next, and it looks like the limits for these, the service limits, is 45.5 millimeters. This is just measuring the free length on here. Let's see here. So we said what? 45.5. So we're at 48.5 on that one. Let's just measure all these, because I know if one of them is bad, then you pretty much have to replace them anyway. But yeah, 47 on that one. 47 on that one. 47.2. 46.4. That one's the worst out of the bunch. So we were getting close to the 45 again. So all this stuff is still within spec, but you know, I already got the new plates ordered up. Friction plates, the steel plates here too, and springs. So we're just gonna go ahead and replace all this stuff. Okay, just to compare the brand new springs and plates, I'm gonna get measurements on these too, just to see where we're at. We'll do the springs first. 49.1. 49.3. So yeah, these definitely got more bite to the springs. Let's check the width on the friction plate. Make sure we're zeroed out here. 2.9. Almost 3 millimeters. So yeah, much more meat to the new ones, obviously. So I feel better putting fresh clutch pack and springs in there. Yeah, 2.95. So yeah, we'll get these soaked in oil and saturated well, and then we'll install it. Getting back to this a day later, we got the clutch plates are all soaked in oil and ready to go back in here. So start throwing it in. That friction plate first. Got our new springs going in here. Okay, ready for the cover. I got a new gasket here. I'm just going to oil up. Put that on here. All right, next up I'm going to address the steering head bearings. I know you probably can't see it on camera here, but whenever I kind of rest my finger here and move the front wheel back and forth, there's a lot of movement in there. It's actually pinching my finger in there. So we're going to get all this out of the way, get the bearings out, and take that slack out of there. Not sure if you can see that moving at all, but that's all the play that's in this thing. Yeah, look at these bearings. Those are shot. Oh, that's nice. That one was completely coming apart there. Yikes. It's 30-year-old grease right here. It's like peanut butter. You see, this one's just basically falling apart. That came out pretty easy. Okay, she's out. Get this cleaned up and get the new races in there, and then we can put this back together. Okay, new race going on. I had this in the freezer to hopefully shrink it down a little bit. Hopefully it'll go a little easier. That was easy. Okay, it feels good. I think we're all set. Okay, I'm gonna try to pound the bearing on here. I just put this in the freezer last night. Try to shrink this down. And hopefully we can get the bearing to slip on there a little easier. Put the dust seal on first. Okay, I'm gonna get the old race. Try to hit that down with that if I can. Okay, just gotta add some grease to this and we'll shove it back up into the steering stem and we're all set. All right, I got my bearings packed here with grease. Top one's already in, and I did the same to the bottom one here. So we're just gonna slip this back together. And get these triple trees lined up here before I crank down on the nut at the top. Get one of these forks in at least. All right, I jumped ahead on you guys a little bit and just finished putting the front end together. And now we got this all buttoned up and we got no play in there. This moves nice and free. So we are ready to get this thing in the woods, I think. All right, guys, we got the RM back in the woods finally. And we got that carburetor dialed in pretty good to where it'll actually idle now. And I had messed with the air screw a little bit, did that off camera, just kind of fine-tuned it a little bit and turned in the idle screw a little bit more. It's pretty hot out here today. It's pretty humid too, so that's probably affecting the jetting a little bit. But it's running pretty crisp. Just running it back and forth here a little bit and adjusting the clutch as much as I can. It is still grabbing a little bit even when the cable or the lever is in. And I have it adjusted pretty far in, almost to where there's no free play at all. So I'm gonna ride a little bit more here and we're gonna see if it loosens up a little bit. Might just need slipped in and ridden in a little bit. But it did feel like it was getting a little bit better as I was going on. So we're gonna hit the trails up here. I'm not gonna do the full 100% 10-mile torture test with this thing, just because it did just rain and seat height's really tall on this thing. This bike must have been sprung for somebody a lot heavier than I am. I'm about 180 pounds, 185, and I'm 5'8", shorter inseam, so I'm having a hard time touching the ground. Suspension's pretty stiff, and I did dial the clickers full soft as much as I could. We did up here on the forks. I got those on full soft, and also down here on the shock, there's an adjuster on this side. I got that on full soft too. Didn't really help that much, and it is very stiff compared to my trail bikes. So it's gonna take some getting used to there. I don't want to take it down into the super hard stuff just yet. I'm going to do some riding with it here. I'll probably hit some of the 10-mile loop up as I get comfortable on it. But yeah, it's an adjustment also with the lack of low end grunt with the 125. It does scream when you get the power band. It screams pretty good. So I'm going to be in the power band as much as I can, probably slipping the clutch quite a bit. And we'll see if I can get it to go back here. But so far so good, just from putting around a little bit. It's got pretty good tires on it still. These I didn't put on here, but they got pretty decent life left on them. And this Pirelli that I did put on the back is hooking up pretty good and still got a lot of life. So I'm gonna hop on and we're gonna do some riding, try to hit up some technical stuff, and see how far I can get without falling over and hurting myself. Okay, I got this to pretty much be a one kick starter, hot air cooled. Got my tools with me in case I foul a plug. All right, let's go. Let's see, gas on, choke off. All right, here we go. Okay, like I was saying, the suspension's really stiff on this thing, even on full soft on the clicker, so it must have been either sprung for a really heavy rider or just the way they came. I'm not real familiar with motocross bikes. I usually have trail and enduro bikes, as you know, so this is a new experience back here for me. It's been the last time I had a motocross bike was my RM125 when I was 13. Yeah, that power band hits nice. Does have decent low end power, really. It's all wet. Just as I say that. I'm used to the grunt on my cross trainer or my XRs. So you have to excuse my my riding with this until I get used to it a little bit more. Definitely takes some clutch mastery to wheel a motocross bike in the woods pretty good. We got a decent hill climb here. Get the revs up. Everything's good. Well, that suspension worked good on that. Those 90-degree sharp ledges with speed. Soaks those up real nice compared to the soft plush stuff on my other bikes. To adjust the clutch a little bit, I think. See if I get this in neutral. Goggles are soaked. I'm actually gonna leave the goggles off too, because like I said, it just rained back here. All the leaves are covered in water, so I'm getting soaked. I can't see. a run at that. Slipping going on here. Whew. This thing's a rocket ship. Like light switch. Okay, I think that's good. I can put it in gear, and there's very little drag on there, so I think we're okay now. I want to try that. I got to give it to you guys. I wheel these things in the woods, motocross bikes in the woods. It takes a lot of clutch work, especially with a 125. I could see 250, you know, you could lug those more. But this one, you kind of have to be screaming it to get it to go anywhere. It's fun. It's fun to ride like that. I'm just not that good at it yet. It's gonna take some time to get used to that. I'm used to lugging 4 strokes where I barely touch the clutch, and my cross trainer, which is basically acts like a 4-stroke in that regards, where you can just tractor that thing. With this first gear, you have to still feather it for some things until you get to that power band, and you just hold on, point it, and hold on. Suspension's not working bad back here. You hit stuff hard enough, and that stiffer suspension actually soaks it up pretty good. I was expecting it to be really harsh on the choppy stuff, but it's not too bad like this. It's soaking it up pretty good. I think someone did mention that the forks on these were pretty good in the woods back in the day. You are correct. I thought they'd be way too harsh. Sideways there. This thing's a rocket ship. Yeah, this thing's running really good. Yeah, for being a little slick back here, handling the woods a lot better than I expected, to be perfectly honest.
Back to the creek, see what we get into back here. Oops. Hold that. Some more technical stuff back here. Run up on the gas tank, far up there. Just whip this thing around turns so quick. Yeah, this thing turns really nice. Tight, real tight stuff. How would you keep it from stalling? Definitely adjustment. right, I'm gonna end this with a pretty decent hill climb here. Probably asking for some punishment, but we're gonna try it. I'm just gonna try to let it scream up the hill. We gotta dip down in this valley here first though. Should be interesting. That hill's gonna screw me up there. That little log there. Okay. Well, I gotta take it back down and we're gonna try it again. See if I can get a straighter shot.
There it is. The RM handled the woods pretty good. Pretty sloppy conditions back here today too. And I am no master with the clutch, but it definitely took some clutch work to get this thing to go. And when it went, it hooked up and went. I got to say that power band is like a light switch on this thing. It just, you get it in there, and if you can hold it in there, it'll do anything. It'll climb any hill. That last one we just did is an extremely long, loamy hill, and it was perfect for this today because you could just let the power band fly, all that wheel spin, and it just clawed its way to the top there. Took a lot to get used to, I gotta say, with the clutch. I mean, I gotta give it up to you guys that ride the motocross bikes in the woods. To be able to master the clutch like that and to keep it in that power band takes a lot of skill for sure. I got a lot to learn if I plan on riding this anymore, but probably stick to my enduro bikes. You know, like my cross trainer feels like a tractor compared to this thing, and I barely ever have to clutch that thing, but you know, it's kind of made for this stuff. This one's a flat out motocrosser. And it was cool to bring it back here and see what they're like again, because the last one I had was an RM80, a 79 RM80. That was like 30 some years ago. It was my first bike. So even though we had the suspension, I had it all the way on soft, it was still pretty harsh. Like I said, I think this thing was probably sprung for a heavier rider, or they just came, you know, from the factory being a motocross bike, a lot more firm than what I'm used to out of the box. So I weigh 185 pounds, like I said, and the front was pretty harsh, but except on the real fast stuff, which made sense. You know, you're gonna be hitting stuff a lot harder on a motocross bike, hitting jumps and stuff. So that stuff, it's soaked up really well, like the hard 90-degree hits, or ledges and stuff, and drop-offs. It felt really good on there. It did deflect quite a bit. I tried slowing down the rebound, but that front end kind of deflected off of wet roots and rocks pretty easily. And almost sent me off the trail a couple times, but I was able to save it, thankfully. The back end felt pretty good. Not quite as harsh as the front, but it hooked up pretty well, I gotta say. So I'm probably not gonna keep this one, and this will probably be my last ride on this one back here. I just wanted to get it back and show you guys it running after we went through and got everything sorted on it. It went from being pretty clapped out bike to solid. You know, we got the wheel bearings, brakes, new tire on the back. We got the new brakes on the front. The wheel bearings were already good on the front. We got the steering head bearings, new clutch, springs, plates, all that stuff replaced. We got the new reed valve, got the stock carburetor put back on there, the cane, and we got the right spark plug back in there, and everything else was pretty solid from there. So it feels like a good solid bike again. So this will be for sale pretty soon. I might take it to Vintage Days which is just in a few days. As of actually, it's probably going on now as I release this video. So you might see this out of mid-Ohio if you're going. But like I said, this video is coming out while mid-Ohio is going on, so you might see it after. I don't know, but it's fun, just not for me. It was cool to you know, see how you motocross guys do it in the woods. Like I said, it takes some skill. And I know my buddy Frank, when we used to ride back in high school, he had a YZ125 and I had my XR200. And yeah, I got to give it up to him. That thing was probably a handful for him back here, trying to keep that power band up. But once I got in there, that thing, man, it screams. I'm sure it was a lot like this bike. So thanks for watching, guys. I have more bikes in the pipeline, of course, so if you like these kind of videos, I just got a bug on my camera. If you like these kind of videos, make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and share. If you could, leave me some comments too. It all helps the channel quite a bit, actually, so I appreciate all the input and the views, guys. So we'll see you guys in the next video.